This question talks about Israel Defense Forces who have four types of guns A, B, C, and D. Two things are defined about these four guns. One is their magazine capacity, which is denoted by M1, M2, M3, and M4 in descending order. And the other is the caliber of the bullet, represented by C1, C2, C3, and C4 in the ascending order, which are loaded into the four magazines. Also, the higher the caliber, the lower is the magazine capacity. And when the magazine capacity is multiplied by the caliber of the bullet loaded into a gun, it gives the destructive power of the gun. Some more information is given. Like the bullet caliber are some of the terms of Fibonacci series, in which every term is starting with the third term is the sum of the two preceding terms, whose first two terms are 0 and 1. C4 is a perfect square and C1 is a perfect cube greater than 1. M1, M2, M3 and M4, which are natural numbers, form a geometric progression. M3 is equal to C2 plus C3 divided by 11 and is also divisible by 10. M1 is equal to M2 into M3 into M4. The number of bullets that are loaded in the magazine of gun C is a perfect cube. The caliber of none of the four types of bullet is more than 200. For gun B, M into C is a perfect square. For gun D, M into C has 6 factors, excluding 1 and the number itself. Now, let's start solving the data. We know that M1, M2, M3 and M4 are in descending order and C1, C2, C3 and C4 are in ascending order. And we also know that the higher the capacity of the magazine, the lower is the caliber of the bullet and vice versa. So I can be very sure that the M1 would go with C1, M2 would go with C2, M3 will go with C3 and M4 will go with C4. I am also given that C1 is a perfect cube greater than 1 and C4 is a perfect square, and C1, C2, C3 and C4 are the terms of Fibonacci series. Let's write down few terms of Fibonacci series: 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, 34, 55, 89, 144 and so on. I stopped at 144 with an intention because I got 144, which is a perfect square. So I can say that the value of C4 is 144. The value of C1, which is a perfect cube, is 8. Fine. Also, I am given that M3 is equal to C2 plus C3 divided by 11. That means C2 plus C3 should be a multiple of 11 because M3 is a natural number. It is also divisible by 10. That means M3 is divisible by 11 also, M3 is divisible by 10 also, that means M3 is divisible by 110. That means C2 plus C3 should be a multiple of 110 or 110. I know that the case of 110 is possible when C2 plus C3 is equal to 21 plus 89. The next possibility is 220, which is not possible because even if I take 144 as the largest number, then if I add 89 or 55 or any other number, it won't give me the result as 220. I also know that the caliber of none of the four types of blood is more than 200, so I cannot go ahead of 144. So the only possibility for C2, C3 is 21 and 89, where C2 will be 21 and C3 will be 89, as it was given that the capacities are in ascending order. Now I have to find out M1, M2, M3 and M4. From here I've got my M3 as 10. Now I'm also given that M1, M2, M3 and M4 are in geometric progression, with M1 being the greatest. Let's say M1 is equal to AR cube. Therefore, M2 should be equal to AR square, M3 should be equal to AR and M4 should be equal to A, where A is the first term of the geometric progression and R is the common ratio between any two consecutive terms of a geometric progression. Now M1 is equal to M2 into M3 into M4. Let's solve this. This implies AR cube is equal to AR square into AR into A. R cube will get cancelled by R cube. I'll get A is equal to A cube. This is possible only when A is equal to 1. So I have got my M4 as 1. If I've got A, I have M4 as 1. Putting it in the value of M3, I'll get R is equal to 10. That means M1 is equal to 1000, M2 is equal to 100, M3 is equal to 10 and M4 is equal to 1. These are the values of the capacity and these are the calibers. Now, which set of M and C will go to which gun? Let's calculate. M1 into C1 is 1000 into 8. M2 into C2 is 100 into 21. M3 into C3 is 10 into 89. And M4 into C4 is 1 into 144. I am given that the number of bullets that are loaded into in the magazine of gun C is a perfect cube. That means the only possible value is M1C1. So M1C1 will go to gun C. Now I am also given that for gun B, M into C is a perfect square. The only possibility is M4 into C4. Next, for gun D, M into C has 6 factors excluding 1 and the number itself. That means M into C together they have 8 factors. I am left with M2 into C2 and M3 into C3. I see that M2 into C2 is 2100, which will have much more factors than 8. Whereas in the case of M3 into C3, if I break M3 into C3, I'll write it as 2 into 5 into 89 to the power 1, 5 to the power 1, 89 to the power 1. Fine. Total number of factors will be 1 plus 1 into 1 plus 1 into 1 plus 1. That is 2 into 2 into 2. That is 8 factors which I needed. So D will have M3 into C3 and then A will have M2 into C2. So I've got I know all the magazines, all the calibers and in which gun they will go. Let's go for the question. M1 is the magazine of. I can clearly see that M1 is the magazine of gun C. So this is the correct answer. Which gun possesses the most destructive power? The destructive power of M1C1 is 8000, M2C2 is 2100, M3C3 is 890 and M4C4 is 144. So the gun which has M1 and C1 will be having the most destructive power, that is the gun C. So the answer is option C. How many odd factors does M into C have in case of gun C? In case of gun C, M1C1 value of M1C1 is 8000. 8000 can be written as 2 to the power 6 into 5 to the power 3. The number of odd factors will be given by 5 to the power 3 only, that is 3 plus 1, which is equal to 4. Hence the answer is again option C. Again option C.